Our next question is, I'm having a hard time fostering community among my group coaching clients. They only talk to me and not to each other. How can I get them to open up more and create relationships? That question is from Leo P.
Your community is going to mirror you. Okay? They're only doing that because that's how you are. That's really the truth. Like they're only closed off to each other because you're like not demonstrating what it looks like to be open to each other. So so one is my team and we create the community environment. We show them by leading by example what it should be like. We'll comment on each other's stuff, on everyone's stuff. We'll like I'll like comment on each other and the team. So I'll show them what we believe community is, and then they'll mirror that. They'll be a part of it. Like my clients mimic our culture. It's funny actually. So that's one way. If you don't have a team and you're alone, then a good other way to do this is very strategic. I used to do this in my seminars. Is sometimes when someone asks the question, I would ask someone else if they have an answer, and I'd open up the field to help each other out. That's another cool thing you could do. And I've done this before on one of my calls. Now on the Zoom calls, week calls is kind of weird. But I have before, like I brought someone else on and I'm like, hey man, you used to deal with this. What do you think about this? And they'd be like, well, you're putting me on the spot. But then the community would open up to each other, right? So that's another thing on the group calls, letting each other answer each other's stuff. And then also stepping at the end and making sure the person got what they needed, because the simultaneous thing could happen. Like they'll be like, I'm here for you. Like, why are, that will be there though. If you're trying to create community with each other, you're going to have that little bit of friction where for that little time, they'll be like, why is this person answering? I paid you. But like do that anyways, but then bring them in so that they kind of start to value each other because they see they have good perspectives. Now you also want to be careful because if you open that kind of community up, now they are going to coach each other. And if they're here to learn from you, that means they still need to learn themselves. So I have also a witness where my community, where my clients will give each other the wrong advice. And I'll watch that. And again, part of it is I go, it's okay. They'll learn. The other part is I make sure I keep the balance of the right information being passed around, right? So like in my client group, people will post things and I will read everyone's comments and I'm like, it's like not all the time. Sometimes I'm like, and I'll come and I'll just drop my own comment. And obviously the person will value my comment more just because they paid to be there and learn from me. But everyone else got to put their 2 cents in, which is good. And sometimes they have really good advice. So you got to kind of make sure you manage that, but it's a part of it. If you want community, you can't control everyone's going to think like you, like end of story. So the community, you got to sacrifice a little bit of control there. And the other thing you could do is in your group, if you have a Facebook group or a place where everyone hangs out, you can create things that create culture. Right? Like create challenges or competitions so that everyone kind of has a fun like challenge with each other, or create a question post where everyone gets to, write things about something and they all connect in a way. It's like creating networking conversations, that's another way to get them to really start to like each other. Yeah. And the other thing is you can just get on the call and be like, guys, I want you to start connecting with each other. You can just say, I want a community. Okay. You guys should start talking to each other. I mean, if you haven't tried that, at the very least, try that first. So those are some really good ways actually to create good client culture in your program.
Yeah, and Armin kind of mentioned it. We do have a private community group where our students are. So if you don't have one, you should create one as soon as possible and leverage the group. So if people have questions, even when that they bring to you on calls, and you can say, hey, like, oh yeah, that's a great idea. Post it in the group. See what other people have to say. Get some feedback there from the group. Right. Another one of our clients, a couple of weeks ago is learning how to practice the sales script. So I'm like, awesome. If you're practicing the sales script, you need to role play. Put in the group right now and ask for role play partners, because someone in the group is also working on sales and wants to practice just as much as you. So hit them up and go practice. Right. Sometimes you need to create the like Armin said, you got to give them a bit of a push. Right. Get out of your own comfort zone. Go talk to people. Sometimes people don't feel like. Sometimes actually people in your group are afraid to talk to one another, right? Sometimes they're a little nervous to open up and be vulnerable to one. Maybe they think that other people in the group are doing better than them. Maybe they think other people in the group are, more successful or they're ahead of them in the path. But as long as you just create this level of neutrality that everyone is a student here and everyone can work together, I think that that's the best possible way that you can leverage a group. And Jordan says our group is fire, and he's right, because the group is fire.
It's real fire. It's like beyond my control now. Like the culture has grown bigger than me. And it's kind of cool because now I'm not leading this community anymore. I'm just a part of this community, which is the ultimate point, right? Like I'm just another person in this awesome community. Like even if I closed off SGC right now, I am positive everyone in this program would come together and create their own group chat.
Fact.
I don't see why that wouldn't happen. And it's funny because I was and it's hard to do that online, guys. Like I used to easily do this in seminars. People will come out for 3 days and they'd spend 3 days together, 12 hours a day in a room. And I'd do all these exercises and these group things together. So they built bonds. And then we'd finish off every 3-day seminar with something called the Circle of Honor. Oof. By the way, when we do a live event for our SGC students, we should totally do that.
We have
like
to.
Literally straight. That would be the strongest Circle of Honor we've ever done because they've already built all this relationship. Imagine
I'll cry for hours, Armin. I cry every Circle actually, of Honor. I will cry for hours after that.
It'd be crazy. Sure. It'd be a crazy Circle of Honor. We'll do it in September when we do that Florida event. So anyways, so that's really hard. But like even after those 3-day seminars, I would have these group chats with everyone who showed up. So it'd be 30 to 50 people would be in that chat. And honestly, those chats would stay active for 6 to 12, sometimes even 2 years. 6 to 12 months, sometimes 2 years. I had one of them specifically since 2017 be active until 2019. And I would never go inside. I would just see every now and then I would see, but they were like helping each other out, going to each other's events. It was crazy. But culture is very, very, very important. In fact, if you want to scale a company from 7 to 8 figures, the same message is everywhere in the communities and masterminds I'm in, which is culture is how you do that. Culture in your team, culture in your community, because to go past 1 million, to get to 10 million, and that's just money, but like to go to that size of a company, you need to have a strong foundational culture. The people must grow it. It's not just a marketing technique anymore. Everyone's good at marketing at that level. It's really about who has the strongest culture, community, right? So definitely creating an identity shift as well, like in your culture, in your community, your program, having people identify with something, right? Like we have something called the Leader's Oath, and we listen to it every single coaching call I started with. And it's really just a reminder that, you know, you're a leader because you've chosen to build a business, to be an entrepreneur, to be this person. And every single coaching call I play that. It's 5-minute audio. And it's like this audio I recorded myself with an inspirational song. And all the clients, I can imagine every single time they hear it, they go, man, I'm here for a reason, right? I make them think bigger. I make them see a vision. And for that, we create strong momentum and culture. People are like, they're a part of something. Like the clients I have, if they're plugged into my culture, they can't ever comprehend going somewhere else because it would be like leaving a family. That's how bad it would feel. Because you can't buy another program like mine. You can't. It's not possible. There's other versions of what I'm doing, but I'm saying you can't buy another program as a means to an end for your business. I've created such an environment with the team and with the clients. You feel like you'd be leaving your own family if you left. So now it's like loyalty becomes normal, right? And the only time I've ever had clients like think about going out of the programs is when they're not like using what they have. They're not in the training. They're not in the community. They're not in the groups. They're not on the calls. And that's their fault. Like, we can't do anything about that. But every person that gets on the group calls, stays active in the group and goes through the training, they literally, like, they show me like same level of family love like I would get from my own family. Yeah. So it's like you can't think about leaving. Plus, we make it really hard, irresistible, because we give everything you possibly need to scale to 100 grand a month in this business. So you don't really need anything else. But my point though is it's really, really, really powerful. And creating culture is actually very, very important. But the main thing I'll say is this: it's comes from you first as the owner, as the coach. It comes from you. I'm in some groups with thousands of people that are like me, and the owners or the leaders of those communities, they're not very community oriented. In fact, they're more individualized, right? It's not their strength, let's say. They lead by ego. They don't lead by community or love or anything like that. And so what I see is thousands of people in these groups, very little engagement, very little community support. And the little bit of community support that Disc has created, like some people do come together, it's all dysfunctional, right? It's like them against us against them. And I'm in programs like this, and I see it, and it's really sad because there's some great people, you know. And every community has the potential to be a great community. Every program, I'm saying. And I'll tell you why. Because I'm in one specific program where there's about 1,000 people in there, and the owner is very self-centered, very self-oriented. Nothing wrong about it. It's just they're clearly not there for, you know, community or building something big. It's just a means to an end for them to coach and help people. So on these mastermind calls we would go on, there'd be all these people on, all these extraordinary minds, and they're yearning for culture, for community. But the owner doesn't do that. It's not their focus. They don't care. What I did is I stepped in and I offered it. I offered to create like a roundtable mastermind, more so something that's community oriented. And I had like 15 to 20 people say, I want to do that. And now every 2 weeks we get on these Zoom calls, and they show up and this community gets formed. You know, it's crazy. And from that community, like, we all grow each other. So I'm like, it's funny because the owner could be having this connection with his own clients, but I'm the one having it instead, simply because I'm the one who's leading that myself. Like, I wanted that. And so don't be fooled. If you're going to build a good program and a good coaching business, make sure you provide that community, that place where your clients can connect and be with each other. Or else, if you don't provide it, they'll go somewhere else to get it.